Welcome to the English Speaking Practice Podcast.
Imagine you are sitting at a dinner table with a group of native English speakers.
The food is fantastic. The mood is totally relaxed, and someone starts telling a long story.
Everyone is paying attention and listening closely.
Suddenly, the person finishes the story, and the whole table bursts into loud laughter. People are holding their stomachs, wiping tears from their eyes, and clapping their hands. And there you sit, right in the middle of it all, with a frozen, fake smile on your face. Your brain is desperately trying to translate the last sentence you just heard. You understood every single English word they said, but the meaning is just completely blank. It feels like you are staring at a computer screen that just suddenly froze and stopped working. If you have ever felt this tiny bit of panic, please take a deep breath right now. You are definitely not alone, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with your English skills.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I am Anna.
And I am Mark.
We're so happy you decided to spend your time with us today. Understanding jokes in a foreign language is basically like fighting the final boss in a complex video game. It requires a lot of different skills coming together at exactly the same time. But please, drop the guilt and frustration right now. You do not need to push yourself too hard or study grammar rules for hours until your head hurts. Learning a language should not feel like carrying heavy rocks up a mountain. We are going to take very gentle, small steps today. We will quietly explore how native speakers play with words and how you can naturally absorb these patterns.
Let us start with the most basic reaction you can have to a joke. When a funny story is told, you either catch the meaning or you do not. The phrase we use is, "I get it." This simply means, I understand. It is a very physical concept. It is like someone throwing a tennis ball to you, and you successfully catch it in your hands. You are holding the meaning safely.
Exactly.
For example, imagine you are watching a movie with your best friend on the sofa.
The main character makes a clever, funny comment. You smile, look at your friend, and say, "Oh, I get it." But what if you miss the ball? What if the joke is too confusing and the ball falls on the floor? You simply say, "I do not get it." You give yourself total permission to not know everything, and that is a beautiful relief.
And sometimes the ball does not just drop on the floor. Sometimes the ball flies high above your head into the sky. That brings us to our next useful phrase. It went over my head. This means the joke was too complicated or required special cultural knowledge, and you missed the point entirely. Imagine a strong Wi-Fi signal floating near the ceiling of a cafe, but your phone is down on the table completely disconnected from the network. The humor simply passed above your brain without touching it.
That is such a good visual metaphor, Mark. I actually experienced this at a medical conference last month. A speaker made a very specific, technical joke about human anatomy. The whole room of doctors was laughing loudly. I turned to my colleague next to me and whispered, "That joke completely went over my head." It is totally fine to admit that you do not have the specific knowledge to connect to that Wi-Fi signal.
Speaking of admitting mistakes, sometimes the problem is not the person listening. Sometimes the person telling the joke is just terrible at delivering it. We use a funny phrase for this: to butcher a joke. To butcher means to cut something up violently, like a person cutting raw meat in a butcher shop. So, to butcher a joke means to tell it so badly that you completely destroy the humor. It is like trying to bake a beautiful, delicate cake for a birthday party. But right before you serve it, you drop it on the floor and bring it to the table crushed.
Oh, my husband does this exact thing all the time. He hears a funny story from his colleagues at the office. He comes home, tries to repeat it to me in the kitchen, but he forgets the main detail. Then he pauses for a long time, messes up the words, gets nervous, and the magic is totally gone. I always pat his shoulder and tell him, "Honey, you really butchered that joke."
But when someone tells a joke perfectly, the reaction from the listener is beautiful. The phrase we use is to crack someone up. This means to make someone laugh very hard, usually suddenly and uncontrollably. Think of an egg sitting on a kitchen counter. When you hit an egg firmly on the side of a glass bowl, the hard shell suddenly breaks open. People often walk around during the day with a hard shell of seriousness. A really good joke cracks that shell, and the laughter just pours out naturally.
That is so deeply true. My little nephew is only 5 years old. He does not even know how to tell real jokes with words yet. But he makes these incredibly silly faces at the dinner table while eating his vegetables. He just cracks me up every single time. I cannot keep a straight, serious face when I'm around him.
You know, Anna, sometimes we crack up easily, and sometimes we just sit in awkward silence. I was thinking about why some jokes fail, even when we know all the vocabulary words in the sentence.
Oh, I had a massive realization about this exact topic recently. I used to blame my grammar skills when I did not laugh at a joke. But I discovered that knowing the language is only half the picture. The other half is the cultural context behind the words. It is like trying to enjoy a famous spicy dish without knowing that chili peppers are hot. You are simply missing the necessary background information to appreciate the flavor. So I started reading simple entertainment news and watching local television talk shows. Not to study the language, but just to know who the famous actors are. I wanted to know what the current political scandals are and what the normal daily struggles in that country look like. Once I quietly filled my head with that cultural background, the jokes suddenly started making perfect sense. It was exactly like turning on the lights in a dark room.
That is a wonderful, gentle habit to build. You are just absorbing the culture quietly, without testing yourself or taking notes.
And understanding that culture helps you understand the flexible structure of the language better. Because a huge amount of humor is based on a concept called a play on words. This is when you intentionally use a word that has two different meanings. Or you use two words that sound very similar to create a funny or surprising situation. It is like a circus clown juggling two balls that look identical from a distance. But when you catch them, you realize one is very heavy and one is extremely light. The sudden surprise of the double meaning is what makes the brain happy.
Yes, that is a great way to explain it. Let us look at a phrase that is often used in wordplay, but is also a very important idiom on its own. To have the guts. This means to have extreme courage, or to be brave enough to do something very difficult. Your guts are physically your stomach and your intestines inside your body. Imagine all your physical energy, your center of gravity, sitting deep down in your stomach. When you are terrified of something, your stomach feels weak and completely empty. But when you have the guts, your physical center feels strong, heavy, and stable.
I clearly remember when I wanted to quit my boring corporate office job to start my own small business. I was completely terrified of losing my regular salary. I stood outside my strict boss's office door for 20 minutes, just staring at the wood. I finally took a deep breath because I knew I needed to have the guts to open the door and resign. And I did it, and it changed my life.
That takes a massive amount of bravery. Maybe you finally quit because you realized that job was not going to last forever anyway. Which leads us beautifully to our next phrase. One's days are numbered. This means a situation is going to end very soon, or an object is going to stop working. Imagine looking at the tiny battery icon on your mobile phone screen. The icon turns flashing red and shows that you only have 2% of power left. You absolutely know the screen will go black very soon. The remaining time is highly limited, and it is counting down fast.
We definitely use this phrase a lot when talking about old technology. My current laptop is making a terrible loud noise, like a broken airplane engine, every time I open a web browser. I keep telling my friend my poor computer's days are numbered. I desperately need to buy a new one before it completely dies and I lose all my files.
You know, buying a new computer might actually be easier than trying to understand fast English speakers in real life.
But wait, Mark, are you saying that just listening for 5 minutes a day actually works?
Yes, it really does, if you do it the right way. I actually found a tiny life hack that completely changed how my brain processes spoken humor. I started watching professional stand-up comedy specials on streaming platforms. But here is the secret trick. I always watch them with the English subtitles turned on. Stand-up comedy is like a high-intensity workout gym for your listening skills. The comedians speak incredibly fast. They use modern slang, and they build very complex stories. If you just listen blindly, it is completely overwhelming and stressful. But the text subtitles act exactly like training wheels on a child's bicycle. They give your eyes something secure to hold on to, while your ears slowly get used to the fast speed. You can pause the video, read the complex wordplay, and slowly digest the meaning. It removes all the panic and stress from the learning process.
That is such a relieving and gentle approach to practice. Subtitles totally remove the sharp annoyance of not understanding the audio. Because constantly not understanding can really bug you over time. Let us look closely at that exact phrase. To bug someone. This simply means to annoy, bother, or irritate a person in a small way. A bug is a tiny flying or crawling insect. Imagine a small, invisible mosquito flying right next to your ear while you are trying to fall asleep. It is not dangerous, it is not destroying your house, but it is incredibly irritating.
That is the perfect physical image. For example, I have a friendly coworker who constantly clicks his plastic pen during long team meetings. Click, click, click for an entire hour. I really try to focus on the marketing presentation, but that tiny repetitive sound just really bugs me. I usually have to politely ask him to put the pen down on the table.
Constant daily annoyance can actually completely ruin your mood for the whole afternoon. It can make you feel crummy. To feel crummy means to feel slightly unwell, physically tired, or emotionally unhappy. A crumb is a tiny, dry, broken piece of old bread or a hard cookie. When you feel crummy, you physically feel like that piece of dry, old bread on the plate. You have zero energy. You feel fragile and you just want to lie quietly on the sofa.
Yes, it is very important to note that it is not a serious hospital emergency. It is just a low energy, uncomfortable, bad feeling in your body. Yesterday, I got caught in the cold, freezing rain without an umbrella while walking home. Today, my throat hurts a little bit and my head feels unusually heavy. I called my sister this morning and told her I am staying home today. I feel pretty crummy.
You know what actually helps a lot when you feel crummy? Doing something completely silly and creative without any pressure. I want to share a weird little daily habit I started a few months ago. It sounds a bit crazy at first, but it works wonders for building language intuition. I actually started writing my own simple English dad jokes in a notebook.
Wait, really? Like, you are inventing your own jokes from scratch?
Yes, exactly. I take a simple, common word that I know has two distinct meanings, and I try to build a very simple, silly question around those two meanings. It feels ridiculous at first, almost like drawing a simple stick figure instead of painting a museum masterpiece. But the physical process of creating the joke yourself naturally wires the double meaning deep into your brain.
You are no longer just a passive listener waiting for information. You become an active, confident creator of the language.
It completely takes away the fear of making grammar mistakes because the joke is supposed to be bad and silly anyway.
That is actually a totally brilliant strategy because it forces your brain to connect the dots in a new way. And when those confused dots finally connect, you experience our very last phrase for today's episode. It dawned on me. This means you suddenly realized something important, or you finally understood a confusing situation. Dawn is the specific time of early morning when the sun first appears over the horizon. Imagine you are walking in a dark, thick forest, feeling confused and a little bit lost. Suddenly, the bright sun rises. The warm light fills the forest, and you can instantly see the clear walking path. The truth simply lights up automatically in your mind.
I absolutely love that feeling of sudden clarity. It actually happened to me last Tuesday evening. I could not find my metal car keys anywhere in my apartment. I searched the kitchen table, the living room sofa, the deep pockets of my winter jacket. I was looking everywhere for 20 solid minutes, feeling very stressed. Then, suddenly, it dawned on me. I had left them hanging in the front door lock the entire night before. The memory just suddenly illuminated my tired brain without any effort.
And we truly hope that during this audio episode, a lot of new meanings gently dawned on you. Remember, learning a foreign language is definitely not a fast race. You do not need to nervously memorize every single idiom by tomorrow morning. Just let these natural chunks of language wash over you like a gentle, warm ocean wave.
Exactly.
Be very kind and patient with yourself when a joke occasionally goes over your head.
It is completely normal and part of the beautiful journey. If you enjoyed spending this relaxing time with us today, please take a tiny second to like this podcast video. Make sure to subscribe to our growing channel so you never miss our next cozy chat about language.
We would also absolutely love to hear from you directly. Head down to the comments section right below this video right now. Tell us about a specific time when an English joke went over your head, or share a funny wordplay that recently cracked you up.
Sharing your personal stories helps build our wonderful, supportive community of learners. And if you know a friend who feels frustrated or stuck with their English progress, please share this video with them today. It might be exactly the soft encouragement they need to keep going.
Oh, and one last important thing before we close the episode. We have prepared a special, completely free vocabulary PDF guide for this specific lesson. It contains all the natural language chunks we discussed today, along with extra real-life examples. You can download it to your phone right now by clicking the secure link in the pinned comment below this video.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. Keep taking those small, gentle steps forward.
All right. See you next time, everyone.